This is a CBC podcast.
Some of you may recall this.
Prince Rupert traffic, Nathan East Stewart, good morning. We have run aground here. We had a complete valve failure in the engine room of our one starboard tank, and as a result, our bilge is filling with fuel. We also had another breach on the starboard side bulkhead where we're taking on more water. Levels in the engine room are coming up to the generator there, so we won't be sure too long here. We're going to lose power.
That was the day the Nathan E. Stewart tugboat ran aground and sank in Heiltsuk fishing territory on BC's central coast. It spilled 110,000 litres of diesel and heavy oils into a marine harvesting area called Gale Pass. The Transportation Safety Board found that a crew member missed a planned course change because he fell asleep while alone on watch. Today is the 5th anniversary of that disaster, but Heiltsuk leaders say the spill continues to have significant economic and cultural impacts. I'm joined now by Heiltsuk elected Chief Councillor Marilyn Slett to talk a little bit more about it. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've reported widely on the impact or the immediate effects of that spill on your seafood harvesting, on cultural sites, but how has the spill affected your community today, 5 years down the road?
Oh, gosh, it's been in a number of ways. Certainly, with the harvesting practices, of our community, our cultural practices, the sites, Gale Pass is also an ancient village site. So it's had, really widespread impacts to our community. Even just hearing that little tape that you just played there, it feels like it was yesterday, and brings up the same emotions when you hear that.
Could you take us back to that day? Like, what was happening? Where were you when you heard the call, and what happened after that? What was going on in the village at that time?
So I heard the call as soon as I woke up. It was around 6:30 in the morning, and turned my phone on, and several text messages were coming through, and I had calls from our stewardship department relaying the news that there was an oil spill, that there was a barge that went aground. And, they were still trying to pinpoint where it was. So, it was, waking up to that news was, we had a real sense of dread of what, was going to unfold, that day.
Now, I understand that the company responsible is called Kirby Offshore Marine Corp. They were permitted to propose an environmental impact assessment, but the Heiltsuk never signed off on that. Why was that?
Well, we really believe, that the environmental impact assessment has to be robust. It has to, tell the complete story and have, all of that data that will really assess the impact, tell us when it's safe to start harvesting, and not, be as narrow as the proponent, would like it to be, so we really held out and started fundraising to develop our own Heiltsuk environmental impact assessment that would, carry out the things that we believe are really important for the EIA to encompass.
And how much does that cost you?
Oh, it's been hundreds of thousands of dollars. We've been fundraising to do this. We put a lot of time and energy into what that EIA would look like, and we've looked at it through certainly the lens of Western science, what methodology in EAI should have, the standard methodologies, and also weaving in Heiltsuk knowledge and law into that, because where this happened in our territory is so significant to us. It's a place where our community would harvest, all species. It's a place where we would practice our ceremonies. It's a place where, it would support our community during, the winter season. So, yeah, we really felt like, this was something that needed to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
And we often talk about, environmental impact assessments and doing all of these studies after the fact. Those are really cold ways of talking about, damage to your land and your property. And I know that connection to the land is very important to your community. What sort of compensation in terms of the fines that were handed out there? How has any of that gone back to you in order to kind of remedy some of those issues and fix those problems?
Well, there's been some fines that were provided through the court system, and we have. It was an application process, so we did apply for them, and they will carry out some studies, but it won't pay for or be applied to the environmental impact assessment. That's something that is right now borne onto the community.
Now, in 2016, the federal government, they launched a $1.5 billion National Oceans Protection Plan to help prevent stuff like this from happening again. And earlier this year, the Canadian Coast Guard and Transport Canada committed to funding and training Heiltsuk first responders and agreed to establish an Indigenous marine response team. Are these measures enough? Are you confident that oil spills like that one will be prevented in the future?
Well, certainly, I mean, we've really supported a Indigenous-led Marine Response Center. That's something that, we've really been behind and advocating. And, those partnerships need to happen. But alongside that, we need to, strengthen and toughen oil spill regulations along the whole Pacific coast. We need to, with the different laws, the UNDRIP, being supported by federal and provincial, we need to strengthen Heiltsuk jurisdiction so we can manage our own territory according to our own laws. And when, communities are faced with, a polluter refusing to pay for an environmental impact assessment, the federal and provincial government should be standing with our communities, with strengthened laws combined, to get these EIAs, carried out in a good way.
So how confident are you really that this will help prevent these spills in the future?
Well, the EIA will tell the story of the spill after the fact. But, certainly, regulations, I mean, what happened here was human error. You heard that at the beginning of your broadcast. So all we can do is, do what we can to strengthen those oil spill regulations. And we have so much to protect here. And it's not just for Heiltsuk, it is for everybody. So we'll keep on, with that fight to make sure that happens.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. Appreciate you coming on and talking about this.
Thank you.
All right, that is Marilyn Slett. She is the elected Chief Counsellor of the Heiltsuk Nation. We reached out to Kirby Offshore Marine Corp and the federal government for comment, but we haven't heard back yet.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.